There are moments you plan for years, and moments that ambush you completely unprepared, even on the very day you thought held no more surprises left. I thought I knew exactly how our wedding day would go. I was wrong that up because of one envelope, handed over by a 9-year-old in a tiny clip-on tie 30 seconds before the ceremony began.
My name is Ryan Mitchell, and this is the story of the moment. My son turned our wedding into something none of us.
Not me, not Sarah, not even Jake himself, Teordia. Fully expected.
The morning of the wedding was a blur of nerves, borrowed cufflinks, and my mother fussing over my tie for the 4th time. Jake, freshly 9.5 now, had insisted on picking out his own outfit. A small navy suit with a clip-on tie he'd chosen specifically because it matched mine. Ring bearer duty is serious business, he informed me solemnly, checking his reflection for the 3rd time. I can't mess this up, I laughed, kneeling down to fix his collar. You're gonna do great, buddy. Just walk slow and don't drop the pillow. He nodded, focused, and then, almost as an afterthought, pulled a slightly wrinkled envelope out of his suit jacket pocket, tucking it carefully back in like he was protecting state secrets. What's that? I asked. It's a surprise, he said simply. For Sarah, not you. Sorry, Papa. The lake house grounds where we'd gotten engaged had transformed into a small, beautiful ceremony space. String lights, folding chairs, close friends and family gathered under a late afternoon sky. My mother sat in the front row. Even Emily was there, seated a respectful distance back, invited by Sarah herself months earlier in a gesture that had meant more to all of us than words could really capture. Marcus stood beside me as my best man, steady as ever. The music started. Jake walked down the aisle first, ring pillow held with exaggerated care, grinning at familiar faces along the way. He reached the front, handed me the rings exactly as rehearsed, and then, instead of stepping to the side as planned, walked straight over to where Sarah would be standing. The music shifted. Sarah appeared at the end of the aisle, breathtaking, and began her walk toward us. But when she reached the front, before the officiant could even begin, Jake stepped forward and held out the envelope. A ripple of surprised, amused whispers moved through the small crowd. Sarah looked down at Jake, startled, then knelt to his eye level. Jake, what's this? You have to open it before you say I do, he said, with all the gravity a 9-year-old could summon. I checked with the officiant guy already. He said it's okay if it's quick. The officiant, clearly having been quietly briefed, gave an amused nod of confirmation. Sarah glanced at me, both of us equally caught off guard, and carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a folded piece of notebook paper, covered in Jake's careful, slightly uneven handwriting, decorated with a hand-drawn border of stars along the edges. She began to read it aloud, her voice already unsteady. Dear Sarah, I made a list of reasons why I want you to be my bonus mom. Number 1, you always ask about my day even when you're tired from work. Number 2, you learned how to make Papa's coffee exactly right, even though you don't like coffee yourself. Number 3, when I broke my arm, you stayed the whole night, even though it wasn't your job to. Number 4, you never tried to make me forget my first mom. You just made room for both. Number 5, you knock on my door before coming in, which Papa says is called respect. I made this list because I wanted you to know I already picked you before you even say yes today. Love, Jake. The entire gathering had gone quiet, several people visibly wiping at their eyes. Sarah knelt fully down now, pulling Jake into a hug, the letter still clutched in her hand, I already picked you too, she whispered to him. A long time ago. Just as I thought the moment couldn't hold any more surprises, Jake reached back into his jacket pocket and pulled out a second, smaller piece of paper. There's one more thing, he said. Mom helped me with this part. She said it was important, too. I glanced toward Emily, seated in the crowd, who gave a small, knowing nod, tears already on her cheeks. Jake unfolded the second paper, a simple drawing, clearly made collaboratively, of stick figures representing our whole unconventional family. Me, Sarah, Jake, and off to the side, drawn just as carefully, Emily. Mom said families don't have to look like everyone else's family to be real, Jake explained. She said as long as everyone who loves me is drawn in the picture, that's what matters. So I put everyone in. I looked at Emily across the small crowd. She mouthed the words, I hope that's okay, toward us both. Sarah wiped her eyes, laughing through tears now, and looked at the officiant. Okay, now I'm ready. The rest of the ceremony passed in a warm blur. Vows exchanged, rings placed. The traditional kiss met with genuine cheers rather than polite applause. But it was that envelope, that letter, that drawing, that stayed with everyone long after the I do's had been said. At the reception, several guests told Sarah it was the most unexpectedly moving thing they'd ever witnessed at a wedding. My mother hugged Jake so tightly, he complained, laughing, that she was messing up his suit. Even Marcus, not usually one for sentiment, pulled me aside during the reception. Your kid just out-toasted my best man speech before I even gave it. Late in the evening, after most of the guests had gone and the string lights were the only illumination left over the quiet lake, I found Jake sitting with Sarah on the porch steps, both of them still in their formal clothes, looking out at the water. Best day ever? I asked, sitting down on Jake's other side. Best day ever, Jake confirmed. Even better than my birthday. Well, almost. Sarah laughed, wrapping an arm around him. I'm going to keep that letter forever, framed in our bedroom, so I see it every single day. Good, Jake said, matter-of-factly. Then you'll never forget you picked us, even on the hard days. Looking back on everything that led to that day, the deployment, the divorce, the custody battle, the slow rebuilding of trust with Emily, the long road to finally trusting love again with Sarah. I don't think any of it could have prepared me for the moment a 9-year-old boy in a clip-on tie taught an entire wedding what family really means. If you've ever built a family that doesn't look like the ones you grew up believing were the only kind that counted, if you've ever needed someone, even a child, to remind you what actually matters on the biggest days, I want you to know the families we choose, piece by piece, letter by letter, are often the strongest ones of all. If this story moved you, let me know in the comments. And if you have a story of your own, share it below. It might just become our next episode. This is Silent Love, and this was a story about a family finally becoming whole.